with another book review. Well, these two books today that I'm going to put on have to be at the Zero channel. There's some horrendous stories in both of them. Well, this is the newest one. Look at the size of this gorgeous book. It's called Pharma: Greed, Lies, and the Poisoning of America. Gerald Posner. Well, award-winning journalist and New York Times best-selling author Gerald Posner traces the heroes and villains of the trillion-a-year pharmaceutical industry and uncovers how those once entrusted with improving life often have betrayed that ideal to corruption and reckless profiteering with deadly consequences. I don't want to say this book will make you sick, but it's sickening, some of the stuff that's in here. Anyways, Gerald Posner is an award-winning journalist who has written 12 books, including the Pulitzer Prize finalist Case Closed and the multiple national bestsellers. His 2015 book, God's Bankers, a 200-year history of the finances of the Vatican, was an acclaimed New York Times bestseller. He's written for many national magazines and papers, including New York Times, The New Yorker, Newsweek, and Time, and he's been a regular contributor to NBC, the History Channel, CNN, CBS, MSNBC, and Fox News. He lives in Miami Beach with his wife, author Tricia Posner. So these two folks are really dedicated to getting the stories out. Pharmaceutical breakthroughs such as antibiotics and vaccines rate among some of the greatest advancements in human history. Yet exorbitant prices for life-saving drugs, safety recalls, and soaring rates of addiction and overdose on prescription opioids have caused more to lose faith in drug companies. Now Americans are demanding a national reckoning with a monolithic industry. Pharma introduces brilliant scientists, incorruptible government regulators, and brave whistleblowers facing off against company executives who often blinded by greed. A business that profits from treating ills can create far deadlier problems than it cures. Addictive products are part of the industry's DNA from the days when corner drugstores sold morphine, heroin, and cocaine to the past 2 decades of dangerously overprescribed opioids. Pharma also uncovers the real story of the Sacklers. The family became one of America's wealthiest from the success of OxyContin, their blockbuster narcotic painkiller in the center of the opioid crisis. Relying on thousands of pages of government and corporate archives, dozens of hours of interviews with insiders and previously classified FBI files, Posner, a little mouse ran through here. Relying on thousands of pages, he exposes the secrets of their Sacklers' rise to power, revelations that have long been buried under a bizarre web of interlocking companies with ever-changing names and hidden owners. The unexpected twists and turns of the Sackler family saga are told against the startling chronicle of a powerful industry that sits at the intersection of public health and profits. Pharma reveals how and why American drug companies have put earnings ahead of patients. Boy, isn't that the truth. You know, it started out in the beginning of the turn of the 19th century, or the 20th century, in the 1900s, where there was a lot of adulterations and people didn't care or even knew. And there were a few crusaders that started these pure food. Then they got into pure drugs. And then it started getting into, well, we need to regulate these. And then some of the people that in the early days, like in the the Pharma Sackler, he started out way back. You know, I think he died in 1981. Was the original guy, but they first decided that they needed to best put their foot forward on presenting how drugs work and get into the doctor's industry by doing a Madison Avenue approach. They call it Medicine Avenue. Oh, what they tightly regulated many things and held them close. And they also did a lot of crusades about finding the best drugs, and wartime, of course, brought in penicillins, and there were fights over that and who got Nobel prizes and people that were cut out, and there were a lot of people that weren't mentioned, and a lot of pioneers got placed by the wayside. But it's really about pharma finding a way to extract higher and higher profits. Nowadays, you know, the EpiPen used to cost about 35-40 cents. Now they're like several $100s or whatever. There's some pills that were $40 and came out to be $120,000 a month. You know, do you really need that? Maybe, I don't know, but not the profits. But at some point, I don't know. We're all going to pass on, so I don't know. That's I don't want to get into my rants, but this is a great expose. And in the end, it mostly talks about Sackler, but there were so many other drug companies that are still around: Squibb, Merck, and Sherman, and all those, and Klein and Glaxstein and Wellcome, and oh, the name goes on and on. They each have their own little niche that they came up with and their particular patent. And that's probably where the biggest problems came from, is the controlling of the patents. Some countries don't allow it. And so we have less problems with the money grubbing and all. A lot of times the fights were over one molecule or one atom that was changed in the recipe that allowed one company to get near similar prescriptions but patented so that they could do it. But the real secret to the patent of medicine was the pharmacy, now they call them pharmacy benefit managers. And this is where they're really raping and scraping the American public for the monies. And it's all in your Medicare and your government subsidized medicine programs that really the fault and the corruption's taking place. Sackler, of course, is picked out into this book. I'm sure they were guilty, but there are many others that are mentioned in this book, of course. But Sackler is put up on the cross for his greed. But he colluded with a lot of other people, a lot of government people, and a lot of reports were falsified, or the data was skewed science to rush things to market, because they did take a long time. Some medicines took 3.5-4 years. But saying that it cost so much to put these on, like $120 million for the research and whatever, justifies why the price of the pill should be exorbitant, is a little dodgy. But these people that put out these lies and greeds and all this figured out how to justify their positions. So I could go on and on about it, but it's really, you need to read this book yourself. It's a little bit of a read. About 1/3 of the book is notes and other things at the back, but the full story is about 500 and some pages. So it's a wonderful read, even though it's daunting. It's not a daunting read. It's getting your mind wrapped around it. How could this really be true? And it is. This is a true book, nonfiction, folks, here at the Zero Channel. Well, get the book like we do. We got ours at the Tucson, Pima County Library. It's called Pharma, Greed's Lies and the Poisoning of America by Gerald Posner. And yes, he deserves every bit of credit. Thank you for your interest in watching and learning more about things that are important to the humans today, I feel. Thanks, and keep watching at KRAC TV.